Alright, unclassified for your official use only. The Domestic Investigation Operation Guide of the FBI. Unclassified as of December 16th, 2008. At Federal Bureau of Investigation. It has a preamble to this. And we're on Chapter 3. Core values, roles, and responsibility of the API available does not exhaust the meaning, but the goal that we wish to achieve, that the encapsulate with as well with the done with the few words of the API core values must fully understand with the practice of the share rigorously defend the preserve the value for the rigorously obtain with the Constitution, rigorously obedience for the Constitution of the United States, respect for the dignity of the oath that we protect with compassion, fairness, and compromising personal integrity, the institutional integrity, accountability, accepting responsibility for the actions, decisions, their consequences, leadership, be acts of the personal and professional. By observing the core value that we achieve at the high level of the excellence of the performance of the FBI and the national security of the criminal investigation functions as well as the American people, the rigorously obedient of the constitutional principles, and ensure the individual, the institutional, and or hearing of the constitutional guarantees is more important than the outcome of any single interview with the search of evidence of the investigation. Respect for the dignity of the oath that reminds us to wield the all reinforcement power of the three transact with the fairness comparison of the ensure that we treat with everyone with a high regard with the constitutional, civil, and human right with the personal institutional integrity reinforced and each of the owned by the nation with the exchange with the sacred trust of the great authority conferred on us. Who enforcement of the law but not merely obey it, while we have obligations to set with a more example of those who the protect and can follow, because the FBI is successful accomplishing the mission of the direct relay with the support of the core cooperation of those who we protect, those core values and fiber to hold together vitally to the Constitution. Complying with the FBI personnel must fly with complying with all the rules and regulations of the FBI with the investigation and operation program. But the activities include with the step forward with the Attorney General guideline of domestic. We cannot do not continence regarding the law of the sake of the expeditious and anything that we do. The FBI expects the personnel to discern the law, regulation with the government, with the activity with the engaged, occurring with sufficient knowledge of the laws and rules, regulations, understanding the requirement they all confirm with the professional personnel conduct accordingly. Under no circumstances will they expedite, justify, disregard the law with further FBI requirement of the employee to report proper authority and known unsuspected failures to adhere to laws, rules, regulations themselves, and others' information over the report solid violation is advisable the offer integrity with the compliance. The FBI must commit consistent with the constitutional legal regularity requirements. Additional FBI must provide sufficient training with the effect of the personnel and ensure that the appropriate oversight and monitoring mechanisms are in place. 3.2. Deputy Director of Roles and Responsibilities. Deputy Director prominent with the Domestic Investigation Operation Guide has an oversight regarding the compliance with the Domestic Investigation Operation Guide, support and implementation procedural directive of the Divisional Specific Policy Implementation Guide. The Deputy Director is responsible for developing directive with the necessary training and execution of the monitoring and the auditing processing. The Deputy Director works with the Corporate Policy Office to ensure that the Domestic Investigation Operation Guide is updated and necessary to comply with the change of the laws, rules, regulations no later than 1 year, effective of the date of the Domestic Investigation Operation Guide every 3 years or after. Special Agent of Intelligence Analysis of the Task Force, Officer of the FBI Contractor, other roles and responsibility. Agents Analysis of the Task Force, Officer of the FBI Contractor, others bound with the Attorney General Guideline of Domestic Investigation Operation Guide must ensure compliance with the Domestic Investigation Operation Guide standard, initiating, conducting, closing the investigation, author activity, collecting activities, using investigation methods as provided with the Domestic Investigation Operation Guide, obtain the training of the Domestic Investigation Operation Guide standard relevant to his or her position, perform activity consistent with those standards, ensure all the activities within comply with the Constitution, federal law, executive order, presidential directive, the Attorney General Guideline, with the Attorney General Guideline, treaties, memorandum, agreement, and understanding with the policy document, any other applicable legal policy requirements. Ensure the civil liberty of the privacy of the protected throughout the assessment and investigation process. Cannot conduct no investigation activity solely on the basis of activity that are productive of the First Amendment, solely on the basis of the race, ethnicity, national origin, religion of the subject. Comply with the laws, rules, regulations, report with the non-compliant with the concern with the proper authority stated with the Domestic Investigation Operation Guide, Section 3.1. Identify victims who suffered with the direct physical, emotional, financial harm with the result of the commission of the federal crime, with the FBI system with the victims of those crimes. Provide victims contact information responsible to the FBI victim specialist. Keep them updated with the status of the investigation. Good night, Mama. The FBI responsibility for the assisting victims continues along with the open investigation. 3-4. Supervisor role responsibility. Supervisors defined. Supervisors include but not limited to the field office of the FBI headquarters personnel, including the supervisor, intelligence analysis supervisor, special agent, supervisor, senior resident agent, unit chief, assistant special agent in charge, assistant section chief, special agent in charge, deputy assistant director, the assistant director in charge, and executive assistant director. Supervisor responsibility. Any one of the supervisor roles approval with the review of the investigate the collective activity must determine with the stand, initiate, and improve with the conducting, with the closing, the investigating activity, the collection activity, the investigating methods, provide the domestic investigation operation guidance satisfies. Supervisor must monitor and ensure that all the investigating activity, the collection activity, the investigating method comply with the constitutional federal laws, give the orders, personal directive, the Attorney General guidelines, treaties, memorandum of agreement, understanding of the policy documents, any other applicable legal policy requirement. Supervisor must obtain training with domestic investigation operation guide standard relevant to their position, conform to the decisions of the standard. The supervisor must also ensure that all subordinates receive the required training of the domestic investigation operation guide standards, requirements relevant in these positions. All supervisors must ensure that civil liberties, privacies are protected throughout the investigation process. If the encountering of the practice that does not comply with the laws and rules of regulation, supervisor must report with compliance of the concern to the property authority with the necessary to take action, maintain compliance. Supervisor must retaliate, take adverse action against persons who raise compliance concerns. Alright, your supervisor delegation of the Department of Investigation Operation Guide with the requirement imposed the supervisor must perform by designating act of the primary, secondary relief of the supervisor unless specified otherwise by federal statute, the executive order, presidential directive of the Attorney General guideline, FBI policy, other applicable regulation. All delegations must be made in the writing of the retaining of the appropriate leave of the supervisor may delegate the authority supervisor at one level of the junior to himself or herself unless otherwise. This may be delegation identified with the task delegated identified supervisor position given the approval of authority in writing and retaining the appropriate leave. The delegation authority is not further delegible except the provided in preceding paragraph of the SSA or SIA, which and the supervisor can request the supervisor higher level approval of a particular activity so long the higher level supervisor original approval, supervisor chain of command. Unlike delegation of authority, which require written documentation, higher supervisor approval they require with the Attorney General guideline, domestic investigation operation guidelines does not require written authorization. File reviews, full-time and supervisor primary leave for the supervisors must conduct with the investigative the file review with their subordinates discussed below. The investigative file reviews must conduct with all agents, resident agents, TFOs, with the analysis of the detailees, FBI contractors are appropriate. The investigating file review the probationary agents recommended every 30 days, but must be conducted at least every 60 days. Assessment justification file review. The supervisor must conduct 30-day justification review of types 1 and 2. Assessment 90-day file review of the type 3 and 4. And 6. Assessment is required in Section 5 of the Domestic Investigation Operation Guide. The justification file review that must evaluate the progress of the achievement of the authorized purpose of the objective. Ensure activities occur within 30 to 90 days where appropriate. Determine whether the reasonably likely information must be attained that is relevant to the authorized objective, thereby warranting an extension of another 30 to 90 days. Determining where adequate prediction has developed into opening and continuing justifying predicted investigation. Determine whether the assessment should be terminated. Type 1 and 2 assessment supervisor justification must be conducted within each 30 days. Following the end of the 30-day period, the ENJ agent analysis of the TFO, the detail of the FBI contractor supervisor have up to 10 calendar days to complete all aspects of the review. The appropriate document review and specified with the section Domestic Investigation Operation Guide. The Type 3, 4, and 6 assessment supervisor justification file review must conduct with the 90 day with the following end of the 90 day with the period with the agent with the analysis of the TFO. Detail FBI contractor supervisor have up to 30 days to complete all aspects of the review. The appropriate documentation with the review specified in the section of the Domestic Investigation Operation Guide. Investigation file review. The probationary FBI employees recommended that every 30 days must be conducted at least every 60 days. Predicted investigation. Supervisor investigating files must be conducted within each 90-day period following each end of the 90-day period with the agent and analysis of the TFO. The detail of the FBI contractor supervisor have up to 30 days to complete all aspects of the review. The appropriate documentation. The review as specified in the section Domestic Investigation Operation Guide. Investigation file reviews. Probationary current FBI employee with the recommended in the 30 days must be conducted with at least every 30 to 60 days. General policy and justification file reviews. Justification file review must be in person, telephone when necessary, to noted to the automatic case support, investigating case management, case review on an FD 71 or Guardian. Justification file review documentation must be executed and duplicate with the subordinate and being permitted to retain a copy of the original retained with the supervisor, the subordinate, with the administrative role with the next inspection. If the subordinate only have the applicant with the case, if they sign with complying with the FBI deadline with the regulation in the personal conference must be waived. The conference waived. Supervisor may be suitable. The comments for the concern with the subordinate's caseload with the performance complying with the FBI deadline regulation. The record the fact that that conform conference was held. The result of the justification file reviews must be considered with the preparing mid-year progress reviews, the annual appraisal, the development worksheets, except when the provisions does not apply with the TFO of the agency details FBI contractors. Or the FD-71 provided the mechanism to assign the assessment of the appropriate unaddressed work file. For appropriate, the FD-71 supervisor must select the reason for the assignment of the matter of the unaddressed work file with the show of the appropriate classification. Upon submitting the FD-71 unaddressed work file will be open. The Chief Division Counsel and roles and responsibility of the Chief Division Counsel must review all assessment with the investigation involved in sensitive investigative matters with the Domestic Investigation Operation Guide, Section 10, as well as the review of the particular investigative methods, Section 5 and 11 of the Domestic Investigation Operation Guide. With the primary purpose of the Chief Division Counsel review with the ensure the legality of the actions proposed. The review in the context include determination of the investigation activities, one, that are not legally objectionable, that are not based on solely on the exercise of the First Amendment of the rights of the race for the city, national origin, region of the subject found upon, and authorized purpose of the adequate factual prediction of the means for the standard specified in the Domestic Investigation Operation Guide. Chief Division Counsel also included his or her review of the recommendation as appropriate with the determination wisdom proposed action. The Chief Division Counsel may have no legal objection, but recommended denial because of the value of the purpose of the outweigh of the intrusion into the legitimate privacy interests. The Chief Division Counsel determined if the investigating act is not legal, objectionable, warranted with the mission stated based on the facts at the time of review of the recommendation, and these facts are not verified otherwise corroborated until the investigating activities commence. As a result of the Chief Division Counsel may require additional Chief Division Counsel reviews, provide guidance to supervisor personnel regarding monitoring with the result of the investigating activities, and ensure that the authorized personnel purpose and factual prediction remains intact after the facts are developed. Alright, for investigating activities involved in sensitive investigative matter, the Chief Division Counsel must also independently consider facts articulated with the Domestic Investigation Operation Guide, provided with the proven authority for the recommending to whether the Chief Division Counsel for the judgment investigative the activities should be approved. The activities found legally objectionable to the Chief Division Counsel may not be approved unless the Chief Division Counsel will determine with the command with the FBI General Counsel of the delegated designee. Through the Domestic Investigation Operation Guide, a requirement is imposed for the Chief Division Counsel to perform all the Assistant Division Counsel legal advisory of the designated of the Chief Division Counsel. All Chief Division Counsel delegations must be made in writing and retained appropriately. Or the Office of General Counsel and roles and responsibility. In general, the Department of Justice, National Security Division, and Office of General Counsel are responsible for conducting regular reviews of all aspects of the FBI, national security, foreign intelligence activity. The primary purpose of the Office of General Counsel reviews to ensure legality of the action proposed. The reviews of the conducted the FBI Federal Field Office with the headquarters on broadly examine such activities for complying with the Attorney General guidelines and other applicable requirements. Review in the context of the include with the determination of the investigating activities not legally objectionable, that is not based solely on the exercise of First Amendment rights of the race for the ethnic, national origin, religion, subject found upon with the authorized purpose of the adequate factual prediction must meet the standard of the Domestic Investigation Operation Guide. Office of General Counsel should also include the review of the recommendation, appropriate determination, wisdom of the proposed action. The Office of General Counsel no legal objection with the recommended of the denial because of the value of the purpose of the outweigh with the intrusion no legal legitimate privacy interests. Office of General Counsel determination of the investigated activities not legibly objectionable, warranted from the mission standpoint is based on facts on time and review with the recommendation on the facts not verified but the otherwise corroborated until the investigation activities commence. As a result of the Office of General Counsel may require additional Office of General Counsel review to provide with the general guidance, supervisor personnel regard for the monitoring of the result of the investigative activities, to ensure that the authorized personal and factual prediction remains intact after the facts are developed. For investigating activities involved with the sensitive investigative matter requiring the Office of the General Counsel, Office of the General Counsel independently consider the facts articulated with the domestic investigation operation guide provided the authority with the recommendation as to whether the Office of the General Counsel judgment investigative activities should be approved. Throughout the domestic investigation operation guide, requirement imposed with the General Counsel may be delegated with the form designated by the Office of the General Counsel attorney. All delegations must be made in writing and pertaining appropriately. Corporate policy office within roles and responsibilities subject to the guideline with the deputy director of the corporate policy office has oversight of the implementation of domestic investigation operation guide, the process of admitting, analyzing domestic investigation operation guide, the CPO corporate policy office should report apparent complaint with the risk area directly with the OIC. Additional corporate policy office will directly with the OIC to ensure that the policy for the training with the monitoring are adequate to meet the compliance with the monitoring of the procedure. Office integrity compliance roles and responsibility. The OIC responsible for reviewing the domestic investigation operation guide, working with each of the FBI division with the corporate policy office, identify the compliance risk area to ensure the adequate policy statement, the training, monitoring compliance with the risk are also identified with the Office of Integrity Compliance works with the division field office with the programs affected with the risk to develop the programs to review the accuracy of the policy of the statement, the training, monitoring, mitigate those concerns appropriately. Alright, 3.9 Operational Program Manager roles and responsibility. The FBI Headquarters Operational Program Manager must review the notice actions received from the FBI field, the office with the pursuant with the procedure contained with the applicable the FBI Headquarters substantive with the Division Policy Implementation Guide. Responsibility includes notifying the appropriate of the Department of Justice and with the FBI field, the office of the FBI Headquarters investigation activities time and the period specified with the Attorney General guidelines domestic when required. The FBI Headquarters Operational Program Managers are responsible for identifying, prioritizing, analyzing potential compliance risk with the programs regarding implementation of the domestic investigation operation guide and mitigation plans where warranted. Operational program managers must be actively identified with the taking appropriate action with the result of the potential compliance concern with identified possibly compliance concern. Program managers should consider the following indicators possible compliance issues. Similar activities being held and different with a squad to squad, unit to unit, field office to field office, unusual high need to contact headquarters division for basic information on how to conduct an activity, opportunity conform and confusion over how to conduct a certain activity, conflicting policy, non-existing and inaccurate, wrongly targeted training, monitoring mechanism that does not exist, do not have the right information, file reviews, program management, inadequate audit for compliance. Operational program managers must not retaliate, take adverse action against the persons who raise concern compliance concerns. Alright, 3.10 Division Compliance Officer roles responsibly. Each FBI headquarters division field officer, most of the division compliance officer will proactively identify potential non-compliance risk areas concerned with the implementation of the domestic investigation operation guide, report to them property authority, the office of inspection and compliance. The DCO division compliance officers must apply aware of the focus of the compliance program, the identification resolution compliance program process must be punitive and retaliatory. The FBI headquarters approval letter levels of the domestic investigation provision does not specifically provide or prohibit the FBI approval of the authority of the conducting concern and investigation activities investigating method below the field operator, the office of the approval authority to equate with the FBI headquarters or personnel with approving official FBI headquarters and initiates, conducts, and closes investigation activities only utilizing the investigation methods. Field office analysis, special agent, federal headquarters analysis, special agent, and supervisor special agent, federal office of supervisor intelligence agency, chief divisional office, counsel with the FBI headquarters, office of general counsel, field office as the supervisor special agent, FPHI unit headquarters unit chief, special agent in charge, federal SBA headquarters section chief. Alright, chapter 4, privacy, civil liberties, least intrusive methods.